As we come into the living room, you see that it's a very vintage and beautiful design with a lot of elements from the 50s, but also some elements of the 70s. And I think this is just really beautifully integrated. The story of this apartment was that the owner wanted to turn it into an Airbnb, but didn't know how to start. And the first piece that was bought in this apartment is actually this red, orange, dusty colored sofa. And I think this is really beautiful because this really shows you that if you don't know how to create a coherent design, often you need one piece and then you can draw the rest of the inspiration from this piece. And this piece should usually be a big thing, like a big sofa, couch or bed. And for this apartment, it was this beautiful vintage 70s sofa. Because this is more of a unique and quite bold color and a bold statement, the designer had to basically balance out this color to make it more neutral and to not give it too much weight and to not make this room super colorful. And one way that was achieved is by placing this really graphic, I think, Danish print on top of it. And you can see how beautifully the black and white print really pulls away some of the intense of the color and really balances out and evens out the room. We have really beautiful sconces that are lamps that are usually mounted onto the top of the wall, and they were actually sourced from a vintage market. And this is a really cool trick to really elevate a small space and make it feel really sophisticated and elegant. And another theme and motive of this apartment is the motive of floral elements. Like we already said before, you have in this big print, you have a lot of natural graphics. And these graphics are repeated again in the different types of pillows. But of course, you also have real plants, such as this beautiful one. It almost seems like a sculpture in this room. And these doors are just the reason why I love antique and old German buildings, because they're 100 to 200 years old and they just give even a small apartment a really grand gesture. It's just beautiful. Here we are. Now we just opened 2 separate rooms from each other and basically let the energy flow through both of them. As you come inside, you really see directly the Scandinavian details and all of the Scandinavian furniture that was used. And what I think is really cool about this design is the fact that different types of chairs have been used. And behind me, we have again a Scandinavian shelf, and it is really cool because it adds a lot of structure. I think these open shelves are always a really good possibility to really showcase your hobbies and loves for the world. And I think that's really beautiful because it really shows the personality of the owner of the space. And then again, we have some plants that are really mindfully placed and not just put all over the place. So they really integrate it and loosen up the design and the square geometry of the space. And now, my favorite part of the apartment, the typography signs behind me. So these 3, the T, the H and the X, they actually spell thanks, but they weren't bought at the same time, but rather instead they were collected throughout the years. And actually at the end, the story made sense and it spelled out thanks, but for a very long time I think there was just the T and the H here. And the H actually is a logo from a very old nightclub in Hamburg, and at some point I think the nightclub stopped existing, and yeah, she found it and she got it. And I think that's really cool. The H really carries a little bit of history of Hamburg and of course also of one's own history. Also here we have the small Pac-Man figures, which is really cool and fun. And if you have a look at the books, they are more or less color-coded. And this just really gives you again this beautiful coherent scenery. It's very nice. This is the second living room. And we can see that here we have a full sofa setup. Behind me we have this gigantic, lush, comfortable sofa. And again, all of the colors are very light and most of them are different shades of beige or just white colors. Here we have these beautiful, unique lampshades that create this triangular geometry and just really break up all of the straight lines that we have in this apartment. And I love the fact that we can see all of these strings and then the natural material, and they just create this very moody design. Behind the sofa, we have these 2 artworks that are again just geometric shapes that break up the design in this very thick white plaster. And you just have this dynamic in the space, and yet at the same time it feels very calm. Over here we have a little accent of light that actually just is a light bulb that gives off very warm light. And this is just a place where you can really wind down at the end of a long day and there's nothing to distract you, but you just feel like you are immersing yourself in a beautiful, deeply, richly layered design. On the other side of the sofa is where it actually gets interesting, because over here we have a beautiful wooden sideboard made out of dark wood. Is a small masterpiece by itself. This is the only wall that has been created by the architects themselves that wasn't originally here, and we just have these New York styled metal framed windows, and we can look inside a bedroom. And this again, it's small details like this, like for example this glass wall, that really create and underline this rustic industrial loft character. The living room consists of a really open lofty floor plan. What is really cool is that the designers didn't limit themselves to like a really strict color palette. But you can really see that the way that this apartment was achieved was by playing with design and being bold and trying out something new. As soon as you come in here, you're just amazed by the incredible color palette that is really delicate and really finely nuanced. For example, here we have these nice lemony pastel colored walls, but in between the frame we have a really nice pink to really complementary, add some contrast and add some color. And this is just a really small detail that just really shows you how much effort and how much love has been poured into this apartment throughout the years. You have a lot of rustic materials, for example the white walls that have been whitewashed and give everything like a really rustic feel, or we have like the industrial steel pipes that come out from behind. But at the same time we have a lot of like really luxurious designer items, such as these beautiful Vitra chairs or the famous lean rosé Togo sofa chairs, which are just really cool, and they're in this beautiful brown. And you can see, as I said before, the color palette in this apartment is really nuanced. And I think one of the reasons that it is this way is because everywhere you look, you have a lot of art. So the really unique thing about this place is the fact that the father of the designer used to be an artist, or is an artist. And because of this, we have all of these beautiful artworks that really make the apartment one of its kind. And I think that this is what also gives the color palette such a nuanced feel, because everything is really thoughtful. And because of all of the different artworks, we have a lot of different colors. And sometimes the colors are like pulled from the artworks and integrated into the apartment, such as the greens we can find again in all of the trees that are here, and they really like brighten up the space and give it more of a playful touch. You can see that the color palette is very muted and we have these rich neutrals, and I feel like this design really shows that neutrals layered with neutrals layered with neutrals again can indeed create a very rich and appealing design. Behind me we have the dining room area, and we just have this beautiful massive wooden table, and we can see that the wood itself has been whitewashed to give it just this ancient, rustic, almost Parisian charm. We have 4 white metal chairs that again go with a very neutral color palette, and we can see that we have this rattan that is very lightweight and doesn't add a lot of weight to a room, but that just visually keeps everything very light. Other than that, we have beautiful autumn decor added, such as these candles or these little branches of the last green trees that we find on the outside. And we can see that in the living room area, the color palette stays the same, but to just create a more relaxed and moody design, all of the colors are a little bit darker. So we have a little composition of 3 different sofa tables, and they're all painted in black, but they vary in height, and they just give this room a sense of movement. So it's always very good if you have a very open floor plan. When you have a lot of big pieces of furniture standing in one room, it's always a good idea to use a lot of smaller pieces of furniture and to group them to just create this difference in scale. Over here we again have this rattan chair, and it looks like a beach chair, and it just gives you this very fun and summery vibe. And as I told you, the attention to proper lighting in this apartment is incredible. Over here we again have not just 1, but 2 very unique standing lamps, and you can see that they again give this apartment a new level of sophistication. Also with the color, it's great that not just one element inside this apartment is black, but that actually 2 of them are black, and they really create a zone and a whole nother vibe in this area. On the back wall we again have this little moment where a white painting has been paired and put on top of a white wall. You would think that it's boring putting a white painting on a white background, because of the beautiful structure of the crunched up paper, this creates a very rich design and a very interesting composition. The biggest takeaway we can take from this design is that sometimes it's not the colors that create the magic moment, but sometimes it's really just all about the textures. And this is just what I love about this place, because we have so many different textures. Below we again have a rattan bench, and it just really finishes the composition. When we look outside, we can have a look at another beautiful brick building that is standing opposite of us. And I think it's amazing that it's standing there, because it just makes us see the material that is the exterior facade of this apartment. And I feel like it just gives us more of a connection to what is outside. And here again we have this really lush, Instagrammable, Pinterest-like design with these like beautiful browns and grays, and just a beautiful color palette that seems really calming and really like makes you just want to sit on the sofa and relax. And this is just a really beautiful setup that we have over here. If we have a look, the one side of the room basically makes up the living room, while the other side is more a hallway. And the living room is just two differently sized sofas that stand symmetrically on each other. And we have two small wooden sofa tables that really again like break up the giant scale and giant geometry of the rest of these furniture pieces, because they're just really just gigantic. And this is always a really good thing that you can do. And below we have like a really beautiful vintage looking carpet. I'm not sure if it's actually vintage. And of course over here, a beautiful, beautiful view and nice windows that really like frame the view. And because we have them on each side, they symmetrically really frame this wall. It adds like a kind of like a repetition, and that's really cool. And another thing that I actually noticed is the fact that these windows are actually in the mirror on the opposing wall. The green from the outside is again reflected, and this just adds this like dialogue, and the inside and the outside basically blend seamlessly into each other. And also here you can see that all of the materials really mimic or are really natural. So you always have this, you feel like you have this connection to real elements and to nature and to the outside, and everything feels really good. Here we have another beautiful flower arrangement, just dried flowers. This is also really simple if you don't want to take care of new flowers, because they are a lot of effort and like require a lot of maintenance. You can just use dried flowers, and they also have this like beautiful rustic feel to them and give an apartment kind of like femininity, but also like this like a little bit of edge, I would say. And again here we have these like very straight wooden lines that are not organic at all, paired with this like furry blanket that is very like wild, and the shape is unpredicted. So again, the beauty lies in the contrast, and that's really cool. Thanks for watching the video. If you liked it, make sure to subscribe, and see you next week.